So I'm really excited as we're going through these today, and we're going to continue the process here today across to New Zealand. And we're going to go across to Cathy Mellett from New Zealand. So Cathy, are you there?
I am, Barry. How are you doing?
Great to have you on. Thank you for coming on today. It's been really a marathon. We're just about entering coming up to the third hour. So we've been quite an amazing process. We've had amazing guests, and I've been just so proud of each guest, of them sharing themselves so much with people. So I'm really looking forward to today. I was really honoured that you said you can come on today from New Zealand. It's a lovely little spot. It's for those people who don't know, New Zealand's sort of like the neighbour of Australia. It's like our little sister next door, but they wouldn't say that. They see Australia as the West Island, so that's how they see Australia over in New Zealand.
Some may call us the little island on the side of Australia.
we certainly do that. Would you like to just share with people, first of all, who you are, Cathy?
Well, thank you very much, Barry, for the introduction. My name's Cathy Mellett, and I've walked this path with Barry for a few years, and certainly it has supported me in my role as the owner of a digital marketing agency. So I run a team in New Zealand that supports people from a digital website perspective, and certainly supports people both in Australia and wider afield than just New Zealand, But more than that is the work that I've done is actually uncovered where I'm going to, which is part of my charity work that I do. And the digital agency has really supported me into that role, which is supporting young people as they cope with digital anxiety, digital pressure, depression, and really believing that they're enough. And I think we have a huge issue amongst our young people around their self-worth, self-resilience, and their focus on life, and digital's really impacting on that.
So I really want to acknowledge you for that, number one. You know, it could have been easy just to stick with the business and keep going with the business, and then you've recognised that there's an issue here and you've done something with it, there is enough, process that you're looking at really for helping young people recognise that, digital bullying and all those things that are going on, it doesn't have to be that way. And there are places and resources that they can go to for support. So,
and I think, Barry, one of the things that became clear to me over the last years as I sort of was opened up to what my life and where my life was going to go to, is that I've obviously walked the path of digital to gain some experience. And I don't think there are as many people as old as me out there that actually have that life understanding about what the impact that can be. So if I look at a young person and I look at the typical person that would be in my age bracket, they'll probably be saying to a young person, "Oh, you know far more about it than what I do." But we've all got life lessons to share. And I think that I come from a position of being more authoritative in that topic because of the actual work that I do in my day-to-day life.
Sure. That brings me to the area I want to talk about with you, and that's the area of persistence. It's an interesting word, persistence, and it's something that I've noticed in you, that you've been with this business for a long time. You've been supporting There Is Enough for a couple of years now. It almost feels like it's been there. And where some people sort of start something, and I've seen other people, they'll try something and halfway through go, "Oh, this doesn't feel right," Mercury's changed or something's changed, and they just drop it and they just leave it and move on to the next thing, and then they move on to the next thing. You've got really clear really early about what you've wanted, and you've been really persistent about moving forward in that direction. What is it that's driven you to do that, and what can you say to people about how they can be more persistent in what they're doing?
I don't know if it's a gene pool that's caused me to become very persistent in what I do in life, but I think that I've adopted a philosophy in life a little bit like yachting, and I'm not a person that understands boats all that well, but I do understand when you watch the America's Cup, that boats jive, and the wind can come from any direction, and so the boat can be blown that way and then the boat's blown that way. And I think that's what life is about. Life is about understanding that we're all here for a purpose. Whatever that purpose is will unfold as you move through that process of being alive. And as long as you keep on moving in some form of direction, your purpose will become clear to you. And I also think that as you open yourself up, the lights in front of you will shine because you're meant to move in that direction.
I like this idea of course correcting, like the ship idea, because I remember one year I had the entire year, my statement to myself, you know, it was about course correcting all the time. And it was like, I'd be heading in a direction. As I sort of steer away, I just make sure I get back to exactly what I want to achieve that year.
Mm.
And
I think, Barry, that as you become more grounded and as you become more used to living life in that current moment, there is potentially, I'll use the word potentially because it doesn't always work like that, potentially less that will throw you off course. And I think that in the last week in my life, sorry, I'm just going to take a sip of something. In the last week in my life, something happened. And I went, there's a reason I need to know that. So I'm going to put it into the back of my little mind and I'm going to see what happens next. And sure as anything, something occurred and I knew that the information that I'd been given just before was exactly the right information to be able to take the decision and the point that I was at. So yeah, living life in the current moment combined with that persistence and trust that things are happening because that's part of where things have to unfold for you is a very valuable and valid state of mind and way forward, I think.
And has that been something you've always had all your life, or has that been a recent experience to learn to be that focused and that directed?
No, Barry, I haven't had that all my life. I think I've always been very determined, but I've also lived my life in the future. And I think when you get into a point where you are very preoccupied in your own headspace around what could happen if this happens and what would happen if that happens and how could that turn out, and I'm fearful because if this happens then XYZ can occur, you actually lose life as it is right now. And so one of the things in terms of my persistence is actually sitting in that presence and going, yeah, this looks like a little bit of a train coming my way. But you know what? I'm sure I've got the skills to get through it, and it wouldn't be coming my way if it's not going to actually scaffold me or lift me to the next thing. And that gives me my persistence, that ability to be grounded, that ability to actually just be in the presence and know that whatever comes will be fine. And I think it's something that I do with my clients and my friends, because you can actually hear when somebody's in that state of panic. You can hear when they're in my loved one's in a hospital, I'm really fearful of where they're going to go to, I'm really concerned. And it's about if they can just come back and breathe and trust that whatever happens, good or bad, stay in the presence, because then you'll have a far better ability to deal with it.
Yeah. Thank you. That's really insightful, I guess, in the sense that we can bring that into my own life, you know, like, and it's something that I try to experience myself. So I want to thank you for that. I'm interested we're looking at money mindset today, and I'm just be interested in where you see money fits into all of this.
Money makes the world go around, and what is it? You can ride in a bus and you'll get from A to B, but if you ride in a Porsche, you'll enjoy the ride so much more. So yeah, obviously money's not everything, and money doesn't buy happiness, but money is an enabler. If I wasn't able to put something aside out of the work that I do in my day-to-day work, which is my agency, then I wouldn't be able to do some of the good that I'm able to do in terms of the charity. And so I think that's where money comes in. It's not the be all and end all. And whether you're rich or whether you're poor, money will not impact on how happy you are. I think there are people that have got a phenomenal amount of money, but they've never actually experienced happiness.
Yeah.
And the thing that I learned from you, Barry, is was probably one of those aha moments when you asked me when I was happy in the beginning of our relationship. And I don't know if you remember that answer, but I actually stood back and I couldn't remember a situation when I actually had experienced joy, which is weird. When, if we actually live in the moment, we'll experience joy.
That's actually going back about 3 years ago now, I believe. That time we've been working together for about 3 years, and I've certainly noticed a shift in who you are. You know, like I have to say, and I've used this one before, but when I first started working with Cathy, I was like a little bit scared and like, oh my goodness, you know, like, yeah, Cathy was already successful. She was already quite tenacious, really clear on what she wanted, and I'm like, you know, what did I have to offer her or anything like that sort of started coming in. And we soon recognized as we found that sort of connection together that there was a depth that you wanted to bring out that I've seen you bring out in the last 3 years, this personality of this inner person that's really shining. And certainly I've seen you now have obstacles that have come across that you've sort of almost shrugged your shoulders and said, oh, well, it's just a short-term situation, you know, and where in the past it would have been like almost like attacking those people and defending yourself and doing all those things. And that's the shift, I think, in who you are. And it just seems to allow you, and you know, Alan used the word about shining, and certainly it's something I've seen in you has been about shining more lately.
And I think, Barry, that when you actually come from that position, you're also feel secure enough to stand your ground. You know, because whilst you do think about what other people think about you, it's not the be all and end all, because as long as you know that you have a life journey and a life purpose and you're working towards that, the boundaries that you place around yourself are very clear around what you will tolerate and what you won't tolerate. Yeah. And I think my ability to have those hard conversations has really improved over a period of time. But I've also learned to phrase those conversations in a way that my intention behind those conversations is far clearer than potentially what it would have been in the past. And perhaps in the past, I wouldn't have had those conversations. I might have shied away from those conversations.
And what would you say to people now who may be struggling with money or not having the amount of money that they would really want? You know, what would you say to them?
I would say that I think you really need to get to the cause of what is holding you back from achieving, and what is holding you back at an emotional level from achieving what you truly deserve. And it may well be something from your past, where in a family you've grown up with the concept of there's never enough money to pay the bills. And is that actually holding you back and becoming your self-limiting belief today? And I think that as we go through life, we owe it to ourselves to present ourselves and to stand up and to look forward in the best way, shape and form that we can. And I think, Barry, to come back to that 3 years ago, I'm sorry that I potentially came across like that. But I knew that I had I work in a world where there are so many people doing what I do. And I knew that for me to be able to give something different to every single client that I touch, I felt instinctively that I needed to grow myself to be able to grow my business.
Yeah. And I've seen you do that. Like that's something that I've literally seen you do every day, you know, and you've even supported my business now, you know, like I love the way I was talking to Holly before that, you know, these are now reciprocal processes that we do as we build up relationships and things like that. The Clear Blocks to Money program for people, you know, really is designed for doing some of the things that you're talking about and clearing, particularly in the first week. You know, I'm just aware that there's over 40 blocks that we clear in the first week. I actually went through all the different statements like money doesn't grow on a tree or money is bad and all these things that we're brought up with. You know, you have to work hard to have money. Or somehow if you don't, you're doing something wrong, or
well, I don't deserve money. I don't deserve
money, which is, as I said earlier, a whole week is devoted to the whole deserving of process. What change have you noticed in yourself since doing the Clear Blocks to Money flow? What change have you noticed in your own money flow?
Well, certainly there's been a greater flow in and flow out of money. And I accept that the flowing out is part of the process, because money can't actually come one way. So I think that was something that I didn't really acknowledge in the past. I also think that one of the things that I've learned is that I can actually come into a point where perhaps I'm looking at my work projections and I can see a little bit of a dipping off. And it's a conversation that I now have with the universe around, okay, universe, so I think I need something else to come along my path, and where is a new project for my team, and where can we go to next, and how can we evolve? And Barry, it's amazing that it comes. Just having that self-belief that the universe will actually provide to you. And actually it's a very interesting dilemma to face, because when the universe provides, sometimes it provides in an avalanche.
Yes.
And then you have to actually go, well, thank you very much for providing this to me. And I don't want to use the word stress, because I'm working so hard, and I am working so hard at the moment, that I am very grateful for the amount of work that is coming my way. So I have to be very cautious around the words that I use to frame that up when I talk to the amount of work that I'm actually moving through at the moment.
Yeah, and I can relate to that. You know, it's easy to say I've got too much work at the moment, and the universe go, well, we'll cut you back if you like. You know, that's not idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I really want to thank you for being on this morning. I really just love the insights and that growth that you constantly have. And I know that that's something that's going to continue in the future. So I really want to thank you for that. And I think you're a really wonderful example of someone who can shine in their own right, both in terms of your business and also in making a difference in the world. So
thank you. And Barry, again, you know, as Holly said, I want to thank you for your friendship, and I want to thank you for that mutual support. And as a group of people moving through this process together, it's been inspirational to watch each and every person that has done these programs together form friendships,
yes.
but also learn to shine as a group. Some of the people who started out with us all those years ago and that we see now, they're just so different. And, you know, they've done that homework themselves, but you have been that facilitator. So thank you for the work that you do as well.
No, thank you. And I sort of know some of those people you're talking about. Initially, we think, oh my goodness, you know, what are they doing here? And they're the ones that I believe, you know, a lot of these people like yourselves, I believe will have programs on Vision School in your own right, making a difference. So, you know, that's the goal for 2021, is to bring some of the people in the inner circle who I work with and bring their skills to the world. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Thanks, Barry.
Okay, thanks for your time, Cathy. Bye. And I want to thank Cathy for her time, an amazing lady from New Zealand who just gives so much to so many people and has able to expand who she is and what she's doing. And I just really want to acknowledge her for that as well. So that's been, you know, an amazing process in itself.